Hey everyone, Mark Hart here, and today we're going to talk about multifamily properties. Here at MIP, we focus normally on the single family homes, but what about duplexes, triplexes, or fourplexes? Let's dive in. All right. As you may notice from our inventory, our email blast, is that you don't see a lot of duplexes, let alone any triplexes or fourplexes. So, what's going on? And that's what we're going to dive into today. From a high level perspective, there was an old moratorium on small multifamily development in Memphis back in the day, put on by the big apartment, commercial multifamily developers, right? They didn't want to have any competition in leasing for these small duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes. I'm talking about the guys that are building 100 unit, 200 unit apartment complexes in Memphis. So when you look at the market, that's really what we have. Really big multifamily apartments and also our traditional single families, which you're all accustomed to. Now, don't get me wrong, there definitely are these small multifamily properties. And what's great about them is you can still get a conventional loan, which you could get 10 of in total. But if you get fourplexes, you could have 10 fourplexes or 40 doors, right? And so now, well, where within Memphis are these small multifamily properties and why don't we have more of them? Well, the answer is number one, just from a supply standpoint, there really just aren't that many that were built. And then number two, the ones that were built are normally in really rough neighborhoods, neighborhoods that we would classify as D as in dog, which we don't recommend our turnkey investors go into. These duplexes are normally also much older. I'm talking 100 years plus, which, there's nothing wrong getting a newly renovated 100-year-old house. But when you compare it to other properties that were built in the 1980s or the 90s or the early 2000s, right, it's an interesting thing to dial into the pros and cons of each. Also, with the duplexes that we do have available, well, they sell out really, really quickly. And because of that, we do actually have a waiting list for duplexes. So if you are interested, just let me know and I can add you to the waiting list. I would recommend it's probably 12 to 24 months out before we can get a duplex. We probably only get about half a dozen duplexes per year. Now, don't get me wrong, we try really hard. We're analyzing the duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. It's just they don't come across our desk in areas that we want to invest in. You can go onto LoopNet, you could probably go onto Zillow and find some available, but normally it's really difficult to get a consistent renter. And that's one of the most important parts about owning real estate, right? Is that renters. How can you get a long-term renter that just does what you want them to do, right? Which is just according to the lease, just pay rent on time and take care of the property. That's it. That's really all we're trying to accomplish here. But now the issue with duplexes is you're going to share a wall with someone. And what that means is now you have to have compatibility issues since it's attached. So just imagine you have a 25-year-old kid, millennial, who wants to play the drums and is in a band. And then on the other side, you have an 80-year-old retiree, right? Polar opposite living standards. Thus, since they aren't compatible, one person is most likely going to move out, which results in another vacancy. And that's where your highest expense comes into play, which is the turnover cost. So that's what we're trying to reduce. As if you look at the numbers, the average tenant stay on these multifamily properties is significantly less, about half as much of a single family home, which is absolutely massive to take into account. So what we like to look at here in Memphis is that why not just get two single family homes where you get the benefit of tenants that stay longer, traditionally take better care of the properties, and just count that as two doors, right? The big mindset that a lot of folks have coming from California, the East Coast, Colorado, is that you can't get a single family home that cash flows. The only thing that's cash flow positive is a duplex, triplex, or fourplex. So you're forced to get that type of investment. But you also have the negatives that come with it as well. Now, that's the big benefit of Memphis is you can get a single family that's has the great cash flow, but also the benefits of having a single family renter. Stays longer, normally takes better care of the property, and also in better neighborhoods. So when you look at the pros and cons of them all, it's always great to have a diversified portfolio, right? We personally own duplexes here in town as well. It's just that you do need to be aware of those cons. And also the way we price duplexes, they're priced differently from single family homes. Single family homes, they're based on a comparative market analysis where a third party appraisal will come in and give a value. So for example, you should have to look at other duplexes that have sold in the neighborhood to figure out the actual value. But so that's what we do for single family homes, not duplexes. What we do for duplexes, because there are no comps, because there's very few of them out there, is it's based off of the net operating income, just like a multifamily apartment building would be. So it's based off the income and the expenses of that investment. Thus, it is not contingent on appraisal. We could have a duplex that's worth $200,000, but it may only appraise for $170,000. That means that spread of $30,000 is something that you'll have to come up with out of cash in addition to the down payment. So something we want everyone to be aware of, the differences from duplexes to single family homes. Now, we do get a few duplexes, right? A small handful. We've never had a triplex or a fourplex come across our turnkey inventory, so don't be on the lookout for those from us. Do recommend going to LoopNet. I'm more than happy to let you know if we think it's in a good neighborhood that we would personally own rentals in or not. But all in all, that we feel that it's best to have the single family homes, at least here in Memphis, Tennessee, because of all those pros. Normally, you can get tenants that stay longer, take better care of the property, which has less vacancy, less turnover costs, and the houses can normally be newer. And once you factor all those in, that's where we think you'll get a better ROI in the future. And that's what we're all here for. So let me know your thoughts on duplexes versus single family homes. Please make sure to hit the subscribe button. We will having a lot more content just like this. And let us know what you think. Have a good one.